The 1970s were a roaring era of chrome, freedom, and rebellion. Motorcycles weren't just machines, they were symbols of raw power and daring ambition. But not every ride was a legend. Some were disasters, mechanical monsters that broke riders. Spirits and bones. These are the 13 worst motorcycles of the 1970s. Flawed, feared, and unforgettable. From flexing frames to engines that betrayed their riders, these bikes earned their place in history for all the wrong reasons. Which one will shock you most? 1979, Maico 490. It was a German motocross titan with a 490cc two-stroke single-cylinder engine, producing 55 horsepower at 6,800 revolutions per minute and 38 lb-ft of torque through a 5-speed gearbox. At 238 pounds dry, it was light but a handling nightmare, especially in tight corners, requiring expert skill. Its 38mm Bing carburetor, an air-cooled engine, delivered explosive acceleration. But frequent piston seizures and gearbox failures crushed riders' spirits. Dirt Bike magazine called it a rocket with no guidance system, noting its tendency to swap ends in turns. Fuel economy was abysmal at 1520 mpg in racing conditions, and maintenance was brutal. Piston replacements every 10-15 races, carburetor tweaks every race, and spark plug changes every 100 miles. Writer Bob Hanna said, "It's fast until it breaks, then it's just junk," recalling a blown engine during a 1980 Supercross event. The Maico 490's 35mm forks and 5-inch travel shocks were underdamped, causing harsh landings, and its frame flexed under load, leading to head shake at speed. Owners reported cracked welds and broken clutch plates, with one telling Classic Motorcycle, "It was a love affair until the repair bills came." Produced until 1982, its raw power couldn't overcome its unreliability, making it the decade's ultimate letdown. Can you imagine the despair of its shattered dreams? 1973 Laverda 1000, it was a powerhouse with a 981cc air-cooled DOHC inline triple engine, delivering 90 horsepower at 7,600 revolutions per minute and 65 lb-ft of torque at 6,500 revolutions per minute. The Jada variant, with high compression, pistons and tuned exhausts, was the fastest production bike from 1976 to 1981. Hitting 140 miles per hour, as Motorcycle News confirmed. Its duplex cradle frame, 60-inch wheelbase, and cast alloy wheels were cutting edge. But at 495 pounds dry, it was a beast. The Seriani suspension, 35mm forks and twin rear shocks, was harsh, offering only 4.7 inches of front travel, and vague. Handling disappointed riders. Phil Rigg, a Laverda factory racer, praised its straight-line speed but cursed its cornering, saying, "It's a missile on straights, a barge in turns." Fuel economy was poor at 32 mpg and maintenance was intensive. Valve adjustments every 2,000 miles, chain tensioning every 1,500 miles, and frequent carburetor cleaning for its triple 32mm Del Orto units. Owners reported clutch slippage and electrical gremlins, with one telling Classic Motorcycle, "It ate spark plugs like candy." Despite its power, the Laverda 1000's sluggish agility and punishing ride quality fell short of sporty expectations, a giant humbled by its own weight. Can you hear the roar of its unfulfilled promises? 1975, Triumph Trident T160. It was a British legend with a 750cc air-cooled inline-3 engine, producing 58 horsepower at 7,250 revolutions per minute and 46 lb-ft of torque at 6,000 revolutions per minute. Its electric starter, dual 254mm disc brakes, and 5-speed transmission were modern but restrictive mufflers caused back pressure, leading to overfueling and a sluggish 110 miles per hour top speed. At 493 pounds dry, it was plagued by oil leaks, electrical faults, and shoddy build quality. Leaking rev counters, clutch cables, and crankcase seals were rampant. Cycle World noted its British pride undone by poor execution. Fuel, Economy was 38 mpg, but maintenance was relentless. Oil changes every 1,000 miles, valve adjustments every 2,000 miles, and constant electrical repairs for the Lucas system. Rider Barry Sheen called it a heartbreaker, recounting breakdowns. Mid-race, owners reported snapped throttle cables and faulty ignition coils, with one telling Motorcycle News it leaked more oil than it burned fuel. Produced until 1976, the T160's potential was crushed by its flaws, a symbol of Britain's fading motorcycle glory. Can you feel the agony of its betrayed legacy? 4. 1972, Kawasaki Z1 900, it dubbed the Big Z, was a groundbreaking superbike with a 903cc air-cooled inline-4 engine, producing 82 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute and 54 lb-ft of torque at 7,000 revolutions per minute. Its double overhead camshaft, 4x4 exhaust, and electric starter were revolutionary, and its 130 miles per hour top speed set records at Daytona, as noted by motorcycle.com. The 5-speed transmission and 66-inch wheelbase promised versatility, but at 546 pounds curb weight, early models suffered from severe frame flex and wobbly handling. Rider Gary Nixon recounted near crashes at 120 miles per hour, telling Cycle World it felt like the frame was made of spaghetti. The 28mm Mikuni carburetors needed syncing every 1,500 miles, and the chain drive required adjustments every 1,000 miles. Fuel economy ranged from 35-40 mpg, but the 200mm rear drum brake faded under hard use, and the single 296mm front disc struggled to stop the beast. Owners reported cracked frame welds and loose engine mounts after high-speed runs. Kawasaki's 3S styling concept, slim, sleek, sexy, captivated buyers with 85,000 units sold by 1975, but early handling issues earned it a spot among the era's disappointments. Can you feel the thrill tainted by the shadow of fear? 1974, Ducati 860 GT, penned by famed designer Giorgetto Giugiaro, broke from the Kawasaki 750 GT with stark angular folded paper styling. Its 863cc air-cooled 90 degrees V-twin engine, equipped with desmodromic valves, produced 5760 horsepower at 7,500 revolutions per minute and 52 lb-ft of torque at 3,500 revolutions per minute, paired with a 5-speed manual transmission and chain drive. Weighing 412 pounds dry, it was relatively light, with a 58-inch wheelbase and 32-degree rake for decent handling. But its polarizing looks, blocky fuel tank and squared-off engine cases, alienated Ducati's loyal fanbase, who cherished the round case 750's elegance. Motorcycle News called it a bold misstep that lost the plot, and sales plummeted, with only 6,200 units sold before its 1975 redesign. Fuel economy was respectable at 40 mpg, but maintenance was intensive. Desmodromic valve adjustments every 3,000 miles required specialized tools, and the single 280mm front disc brake needed frequent pad replacements. Rider Paul Smart, a Ducati factory racer, praised its stability at 110 miles per hour, but criticized its sluggish acceleration, noting it felt like it was fighting itself. The 860 GT's Brembo brakes and Marzocchi forks were advanced, but its 30mm Dell'Orto carburetors were prone to flooding, and electrical issues plagued the Lucas system. Owners reported frequent bulb failures and wiring shorts. The bike's bold design failed to resonate, proving aesthetics were as crucial as performance. Can you feel the clash of its defiant vision against tradition? 1971, Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. It was a cafe racer icon with low-slung clip-on handlebars and a sleek, aggressive stance. Its 748cc transverse V-twin engine with a 9.8:1 compression ratio delivered 70 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute and 48 lb-ft of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute, paired with a 5-speed shaft drive. Weighing 452 pounds dry, it promised thrilling rides, but its complexity was its undoing. Dual 30mm Delorto carburetors required syncing every 2,000 miles, and the Bosch electrical system was notoriously finicky, with state of failures common. Cycle World praised its nimble handling thanks to a 57.7-inch wheelbase and 32mm Marzocchi forks, but lamented it's a love-hate affair, glorious until it breaks. Fuel economy was 38 atm, but quality control was abysmal, with leaking, shaft seals, and faulty ignition switches stranding riders. Mike Haywood, a Moto Guzzi enthusiast, called it a jewel when it runs, a curse when it doesn't. Maintenance was relentless. Valve adjustments every 2,000 miles, clutch replacements every 10,000 miles, and constant wiring checks. Owners reported breakdowns mid-till, with one telling Classic Motorcycle, "I spent more time wrenching than riding." Produced until 1974, the V7 Sport's charisma was overshadowed by its unreliability, a tragic hero that left riders yearning. Can you taste the bittersweet allure of its fleeting glory? 1973 Yamaha TX750. It was a daring leap into the 750cc class, boasting a 743cc air-cooled parallel twin engine that delivered 63 horsepower at 7,500 revolutions per minute and 50 foot of torque at 6,000 revolutions per minute. Its omni-phase dual counterbalancers, dry sump, lubrication system, and 280mm front disc brakes with opposed piston calipers promised a smooth, cutting-edge ride. Aluminum wheel trims and a 5-speed sequential manual transmission added flair, but at 492 pounds dry, 525 pounds curb, it was a heavyweight plagued by catastrophic flaws. Overheating was rampant, with riders reporting engine temperatures exceeding 250 degrees Fahrenheit on long rides, leading to frequent seizures. Cycle World documented excessive oil consumption, 1 quart every 500 miles, causing fouled spark plugs and smoky exhausts. Maintenance was a mechanic's nightmare, requiring valve adjustments every 1,500 miles, oil top-ups every 500 miles, and constant carburetor tuning for its twin 34mm Mikuni units. Fuel economy averaged 35 mpg, lackluster for a twin. Rider feedback was brutal. One owner told Motorcycle News, "It stranded me in the desert with a seized engine. No warning, just failure." Yamaha's rushed engineering, driven by competition with Honda's CB750, led to poor quality control, with loose bolts and leaking seals common. Motorcycle News dubbed it a noble failure, and sales collapsed, leading to its discontinuation by 1975. The TX750's ambition outstripped its execution, leaving riders burned and betrayed. Can you feel the searing sting of its shattered promise? 1973, Yamaha SC500. It was their first stab at a 500cc motocross bike, but it was a spectacular failure that left riders battered and bewildered. Its 498cc two-stroke single-cylinder engine, fed by a 38mm Mikuni carburetor, churned out 40 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute and 34 lb-ft of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute, paired with a 4-speed transmission. At 243 pounds dry, it was light for its class, but its handling was a nightmare. The engine's power delivery was erratic, coughing and stalling below 3,000 revolutions per minute before exploding into a violent mid-range surge that triggered uncontrollable wheelies. Riders recounted terrifying moments where the front end lifted without warning, sending them tumbling. The 35mm inline axle front forks and remote reservoir rear shocks, offering just 4 inches of travel, collapsed under hard landings, delivering bone-rattling jolts. The chassis was front-heavy, causing tank slappers in corners, and the frame flexed so badly it felt like it might snap. Fuel economy was dismal at 1822 mpg in racing conditions, and maintenance was a grueling ordeal. Carburetor jets, clogged every few rides, spark plugs fouled every 100 miles, and piston seizures demanded rebuilds every 10, 15 races. The oil injection pump and auto decompression system, meant to simplify operation, often failed, forcing riders to remove them entirely. Owners reported cracked frame wells, broken clutch plates, and snapped throttle cables after aggressive rides. Launched to rival European brands like Husqvarna and CZD, the SC500 sold poorly, with fewer than 3,000 units moved before its discontinuation in 1974. Yamaha's swift pivot to the YZ360 monoshock in 1974 salvaged their motocross reputation. But the SC500 remains a stark reminder of ambition outpacing execution. Can you feel the chaotic rebellion of its untamed heart? 1976 Honda CB750, A for Hondamatic. It was meant to revolutionize riding, a clutchless 2-speed automatic motorcycle built for newcomers. Powered by a 736cc inline-4, making 47 horsepower, the Honda CB750A promised innovation but delivered disappointment. Weighing 540 pounds, it crawled from 0-60 in 10 seconds with a top speed under 100 miles per hour, far slower than the manual CB750F. Riders mocked its tame nature and clunky foot-operated gear selector that still required shifting. Undermining the automatic dream, maintenance was relentless, with oil changes every 1,875 miles and constant hydraulic checks. Owners reported sticky pedals, faulty electrics, and inconsistent shifts. Despite decent fuel economy, just 7,000 sold before Honda axed it in 1978. A bold experiment, the CB750 Hondamatic promised ease, but delivered mediocrity, an ambitious idea that left riders cold. 1975, Honda CB500T, ordered to stretch the 450cc CB450T engine to 498cc on a budget. Engineers increased the stroke, swapped roller bearings for cheaper ball bearings, and lowered the compression ratio to 8.5, one for cheaper fuel amid the 1975 oil crisis. The result was a 43 horsepower parallel twin at 8,500 revolutions per minute, paired with 32 carburetors and a 5-speed transmission. But at 432 pounds, it vibrated like a jackhammer, rattling the frame, low-quality rubber bushings, and riders' nerves. Cycle World reported riders suffering numb hands and loosened bolts after 30-minute rides. Fuel economy was decent at 45 mpg, but maintenance was frequent, with valve adjustments and chain tensioning needed every 1,000 miles. The unchanged 450cc head amplified vibrations, and Honda's refusal to add a counterbalancer doomed it. A rare misstep. The CB500T left riders aching for comfort. Can you feel the bone-rattling? 1971, Suzuki TM400 Cyclone. It was a $999 motocross gamble built to rival factory bikes. Its 396cc 2-stroke single made 40 horsepower, but the power band was a landmine, nothing then a violent surge that threw riders off balance. At 243 pounds, it was heavy, with a frame that flexed, forks that faded, and shocks that punished. Dirt Bike magazine called it a beast only the brave could tame, while Roger DeCosta compared it to a grenade with the pin half pulled. Unstable, maintenance heavy, and prone to tank slappers, the Cyclone was a motocross nightmare until Suzuki tamed it years later. Its legend remains, forged in chaos. 1974, Suzuki RE5, the rotary revolution that burned out. It was a daring leap into the future, powered by a 497cc Wankel rotary engine, making 62 horsepower and 54 lb-ft of torque. Innovative water cooling, double-skinned exhaust, and a complex 5-cable throttle set it apart, but also sealed its fate. At 509 pounds, it was sluggish. Its fragile apex seals failed often, with replacements costing thousands. Hegel World blasted it as expensive, overcomplicated, underpowered, and hideous. while riders complained of overheating, poor fuel economy, and frustrating maintenance. By 1976, sales collapsed, and Suzuki killed the RE5 after just 4 years. A bold dream undone by its own ambition, it remains a legend of what 1972 Kawasaki H2 Mach IV. It was a fire-breathing monster born from the chaotic. H1 Mach III, its 748cc two-stroke triple cranked out 74 horsepower and pushed its 450-pound frame to 125 miles per hour. Kawasaki called it the fastest thing on two wheels. But speed was its only virtue that the frame flexed, the forks buckled, and the brakes barely slowed it down. Rear-heavy design made violent wheelies common, earning it the nickname Widowmaker. Even factory racer Yvon Duhamel refused to ride, calling it a death trap. Fuel-hungry, maintenance-heavy, and infamous for spark plug fouling. It was as frustrating as it was terrifying. By 1975, sales collapsed and the bike was gone. Yet its legacy lives on, a legend forged in fear. These 13 motorcycles were the 1970s most audacious failures, each a testament to the era's fearless spirit and reckless ambition. From the Kawasaki H2's deadly wheelies to the Maico 490's mechanical meltdowns, they broke hearts but fueled legends. Which of these tragic machines shocked you most? Would you dare tame their wild souls? Share your thoughts, hit that like button, and join us to keep the fire of motorcycle history.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.